Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you went there? Have you ever struggled to remember a name, a date, or even a simple word, and felt that quiet, creeping fear in the back of your mind? What if that fear didn't have to be your reality? What if the answer to protecting your brain wasn't locked inside an expensive pill or a complicated medical procedure, but sitting right there in your kitchen, waiting to be added to your next meal? You are about to discover something that most doctors never talk about in a regular appointment, something that neuroscientists have been quietly studying for decades, something that ancient cultures have been using for thousands of years, and something that modern research is finally confirming with hard, undeniable evidence. The food you eat every single day has a direct, measurable impact on whether or not your brain will remain sharp, clear, and powerful as you age. And today we are going to talk about four specific foods that have been scientifically linked to a dramatically reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease and cognitive decline. Stay with us until the very end because the fourth food on this list is going to completely surprise you, and it might already be sitting in your pantry right now. Before we dive in, do us one simple favor. If you find this information valuable, drop a comment below and tell us, which of these foods are you already eating? Your answer might help someone else in this community make a life-changing decision today. Now let's talk about what Alzheimer's actually does to the brain, because understanding the enemy is the first step to defeating it. Alzheimer's disease is not just forgetfulness. It is a slow, devastating process in which abnormal protein deposits, called amyloid plaques and tangles, begin to build up in the brain, disrupting communication between neurons and eventually causing them to die. Inflammation plays a massive role in this process. Oxidative stress, poor blood flow, and mitochondrial dysfunction all contribute to this silent destruction happening inside the skull years, sometimes decades, before a single symptom appears. The terrifying truth is that by the time someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, the damage has often been accumulating for 20 years or more. But here is the extraordinary and hopeful flip side of that truth. Because this process begins so early, you have an enormous window of opportunity to intervene. And one of the most powerful interventions available to every single person on this planet, regardless of income, location, or genetics, is the food they choose to eat. The brain is an organ that responds profoundly to nutrition. It is made of fat. It runs on glucose. It depends on antioxidants, anti-inflammatory compounds, vitamins and minerals to repair itself, generate new connections, and defend itself against damage. Feed it the wrong things and it slowly deteriorates. Feed it the right things and it can remain resilient, agile, and sharp well into old age. So what are the right things? Let's start with the first food, and this one might already be in your morning cup. The first food is extra virgin olive oil. Ask yourself this: is it a coincidence that populations living in Mediterranean countries, Greece, Italy, Spain, southern France, have some of the lowest rates of Alzheimer's disease in the developed world? Researchers have been asking that same question for decades, and what they keep coming back to is one golden, ancient, almost miraculous substance: extra virgin olive oil. This is not regular olive oil. This is not the refined, processed, pale version you find on the bottom shelf of the grocery store. Extra virgin olive oil is cold pressed from fresh olives, and it is loaded with a compound called oleocanthal, a natural phenolic that has been shown in laboratory studies to actually help clear amyloid plaques from the brain. That's right, the very plaques that define Alzheimer's disease. Oleocanthal appears to enhance the activity of enzymes that break down and remove these toxic protein deposits from brain tissue. But that's not all. Extra virgin olive oil is also rich in polyphenols, powerful antioxidants that fight oxidative stress and reduce neuroinflammation throughout the entire central nervous system. A landmark study published in the journal Annals of Clinical and Translational Neurology found that mice fed a diet enriched with extra virgin olive oil showed dramatically better memory and learning ability compared to those who didn't receive it, with significantly lower levels of amyloid plaques and tangles. And human studies are catching up. People who consume extra virgin olive oil regularly as part of their diet consistently score better on cognitive tests than those who don't, even after adjusting for all other lifestyle factors. How do you use it? Drizzle it raw over salads, vegetables, and soups. Use it to finish a dish just before serving. Don't cook it at extremely high temperatures because heat degrades those precious polyphenols. 2 to 3 tablespoons per day is what the research suggests. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But the simplest interventions are often the most powerful. This isn't a new supplement from a flashy company. This is a food that humans have been eating for over 6,000 years, and science is just now beginning to fully understand why it works so extraordinarily well. Now here is a question worth sitting with. If something this accessible, this affordable, and this ancient has been shown to help protect your brain, why isn't every doctor in the world telling every patient to use it every day? Write your thoughts in the comments. We genuinely want to know what you think. The second food is blueberries, and the science behind them will blow your mind. What if you could go to almost any grocery store in the world, spend less than $5, and bring home a small container of something that researchers at the Salk Institute, Harvard Medical School, and the University of Cincinnati have all identified as one of the most powerful brain protective foods ever studied? That's exactly what blueberries are. These small, unassuming berries are so rich in neuroprotective compounds that scientists have given them their own informal title, brain berries. And if you're not eating them regularly, you are missing out on one of the most accessible forms of cognitive insurance available to you right now. The primary heroes inside blueberries are compounds called anthocyanins, the pigments that give the berry its deep blue-purple color. These anthocyanins cross the blood-brain barrier, which is something most nutrients cannot do easily. And once inside the brain, they do something remarkable. They activate signaling pathways that promote the survival and regeneration of neurons. They reduce neuroinflammation, they improve communication between brain cells, and they appear to directly counteract the oxidative damage that builds up in brain tissue over time and creates the conditions for Alzheimer's to develop. A groundbreaking clinical trial published in the European Journal of Nutrition gave older adults with mild cognitive impairment either a daily blueberry supplement or a placebo for 16 weeks. The results were stunning. Those who received the blueberries showed significant improvements in memory, cognitive function, and even brain activity as measured by neuroimaging. The placebo group showed no such changes. In another study, women who consumed the most blueberries had brains that appeared 2.5 years younger on cognitive testing than women who consumed the least. 2.5 years, just from eating blueberries. And here is something that many people don't realize. Frozen blueberries retain virtually all of their anthocyanin content, so you don't need to worry about seasonal availability or high prices at a farmer's market. A bag of frozen blueberries is just as powerful. Add them to your morning yogurt, blend them into a smoothie, eat them as a snack, toss them into oatmeal. The goal is consistency. Daily consumption appears to produce cumulative benefits over time. The longer you eat them, the more protection you may be building inside your brain. Does that sound too good to be true? We understand the skepticism, but the research is real, it's peer-reviewed, and it's growing stronger every year. Tell us in the comments, are you already eating blueberries regularly? And if not, after learning this, will you start? The third food is turmeric, and this is where things get truly fascinating. Imagine a country of over 1 billion people where the rate of Alzheimer's disease among elderly adults is a fraction of what it is in Western nations. That country is India, and while many factors contribute to this, lifestyle, genetics, social structure, researchers keep returning to one particular dietary habit that sets Indian cooking apart from almost every other cuisine on earth: the daily abundant use of turmeric. This bright orange-yellow spice has been a cornerstone of Ayurvedic medicine for more than 4,000 years, and the active compound within it, curcumin, is now one of the most studied natural substances in all of neurological research. Curcumin is extraordinary because it works on Alzheimer's through multiple mechanisms simultaneously. First, it is a potent anti-inflammatory. Chronic neuroinflammation is one of the primary drivers of Alzheimer's pathology, and curcumin inhibits several key inflammatory pathways in the brain with a thoroughness that rivals some pharmaceutical drugs. Second, curcumin is a powerful antioxidant, scavenging the free radicals that cause oxidative damage to neurons. Third on it, and this is the detail that makes scientists genuinely excited. Curcumin appears to be able to bind directly to amyloid plaques and help break them down. Laboratory studies have shown curcumin reducing the size and number of amyloid deposits in brain tissue. Fourth, curcumin promotes the production of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that essentially functions as fertilizer for neurons, encouraging them to grow, connect, and survive. A study conducted at UCLA found that older adults who took a bioavailable form of curcumin twice daily for 18 months showed a 28% improvement in memory and attention compared to those taking a placebo. Brain imaging revealed that those taking curcumin had significantly less amyloid and tau accumulation in regions of the brain associated with memory and emotional regulation. 28% improvement. That is not a small number. That is life-changing. Now, there is one critical thing you need to know about turmeric. Curcumin alone is very poorly absorbed by the body, but when you combine it with black pepper, which contains a compound called piperine, absorption increases by up to 2,000%. That's not a typo. 2,000%. So whenever you cook with turmeric, always add a pinch of black pepper. Also, consuming it with a healthy fat like extra virgin olive oil or coconut oil further enhances absorption. Golden milk, turmeric-spiced lentils, curries, scrambled eggs with turmeric and black pepper. These aren't just delicious meals. They are, quite literally, brain medicine. We need to ask you something important right now. Given everything you've just read about turmeric, are you going to add it to your meals this week? Let us know in the comments. And share this with someone you love, because knowledge like this deserves to travel. The fourth food, the one that will surprise you, is dark leafy greens. We know what you might be thinking. Leafy greens? That's the big reveal? But stay with us, because the depth of evidence behind leafy greens and brain health is staggering, and the specific mechanisms involved are ones that most people have never heard of. We're talking about spinach, kale, collard greens, Swiss chard, arugula, and their relatives. These foods are among the most nutrient-dense substances on Earth, and their relationship with cognitive protection is far more complex and powerful than most people realize. The Rush Memory and Aging Project, one of the longest-running and most comprehensive studies of brain aging ever conducted, followed nearly 1,000 older adults for nearly a decade, tracking their diets and their cognitive performance in meticulous detail. The finding that emerged most consistently and powerfully from that data was this: people who ate 1 to 2 servings of leafy greens every single day had a rate of cognitive decline equivalent to being 11 years younger than those who ate the least. 11 years younger. In terms of brain age and mental sharpness, eating your greens every day is equivalent to turning back the clock by more than a decade. Why? Because leafy greens are extraordinarily rich in several compounds that directly protect and support brain function. Vitamin K1 is found in enormous quantities in leafy greens, and research has linked adequate vitamin K intake to better memory performance and reduced risk of Alzheimer's. Folate, another B vitamin abundantly present in these foods, is critical for regulating homocysteine, an amino acid that, when elevated, is strongly associated with brain atrophy and Alzheimer's disease. Lutein, a carotenoid that concentrates in brain tissue and is found abundantly in spinach and kale, has been linked to preserved neural efficiency, meaning your neurons stay sharp and communicate more effectively as you age. And then there are the nitrates in leafy greens, which are converted in the body into nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels and dramatically improves blood flow, including to the brain. Good blood flow to the brain means more oxygen, more nutrients, better waste removal, and slower degeneration. There is also something deeply interesting about the gut-brain axis in leafy greens. These vegetables feed beneficial bacteria in the gut microbiome. Bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids capable of crossing into the brain and reducing neuroinflammation. The connection between your gut and your brain is bidirectional and profound, and leafy greens are among the best foods available to nourish both ends of that communication network simultaneously. Think about this: a single large handful of spinach added to a smoothie you can barely taste, a cup of kale sautéed in extra virgin olive oil with garlic and black pepper as a side dish, a bowl of arugula as the base of your lunch salad. These are not dramatic, difficult changes. They are small, daily decisions that could be making an extraordinary difference in the health of your brain. Not 5 years from now, but starting today, starting this week, starting with your very next meal. Now let's bring it all together, because the most powerful thing about these four foods is not just what they each do individually, it's what they do when they work together. Extra virgin olive oil, blueberries, turmeric, and dark leafy greens are not isolated interventions. They are part of a nutritional ecosystem that collectively fights inflammation, combats oxidative stress, clears toxic protein deposits, improves blood flow, nourishes the gut microbiome, supports neurotransmitter production, promotes neuroplasticity, and creates the biochemical conditions for a brain that stays sharp, resilient, and powerful for decades. The Mind Diet, a hybrid of the Mediterranean and DASH diets developed by researchers at Rush University specifically to protect the brain, lists foods very similar to these as its most critical components. People who follow this dietary pattern closely have been shown to reduce their risk of Alzheimer's disease by up to 53%. 53% reduction in risk from food, from choices made 3 times a day at the kitchen table. Here is the reality that we want you to sit with. Alzheimer's disease is not inevitable. Yes, genetics play a role. Yes, age is the biggest risk factor. But the research increasingly shows that lifestyle, and diet in particular, can either accelerate or dramatically slow the processes that lead to cognitive decline. You are not powerless in this. You are not helpless. You have agency, and that agency begins with what you put on your fork. You are the one who decides whether tomorrow morning's breakfast includes blueberries in your oatmeal. You are the one who decides whether you reach for the extra virgin olive oil instead of a less healthy fat. You are the one who decides whether turmeric and black pepper become a regular part of how you season your food. You are the one who decides whether a handful of spinach or kale finds its way onto your plate at lunch or dinner. These are not monumental sacrifices. They are small, sustainable, delicious choices that, compounded over months and years, can profoundly alter the trajectory of your brain's aging. Before you go, we have one final call to action, and it matters more than you might think. Share this content with 3 people you love. Share it with a parent who is beginning to show signs of forgetfulness. Share it with a spouse, a sibling, a close friend who you know doesn't pay enough attention to what they eat. Share it with the person in your life whose sharp mind you want to protect for as long as possible. Because information is only powerful when it travels. And the information you just received has the potential to change lives. Not just yours, but every life you choose to share it with. And leave us a comment right now answering this question. Which of these 4 foods, extra virgin olive oil, blueberries, turmeric, or dark leafy greens, are you committing to adding to your diet starting today? One comment, one commitment, one step that might, years from now, make all the difference in the world. Your brain is the most extraordinary organ in the known universe. It is the seat of everything you are. Every memory, every dream, every relationship, every experience that makes your life your own. It deserves to be protected. It deserves to be nourished. And now you know exactly how to begin.